Okay, Q&A. Yes?
So, when you showed us the list of parts next to the list of the footprint identifiers, that's something you did before. It doesn't do that automatically for you.
Those are coming from from other libraries. Okay, so it shows you all the footprints that are available for the tool. Okay, and that tool has its own set of library preferences of what to look for, and I just left them alone. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of most of the footprints that come with KiCad. Don't think this is me besmirching KiCad. Most of the people that use other editors say, no, I use my own footprints entirely. I do not use the ones that come with the package. So it's a very common complaint. Yes?
Wayne, when you said parts list or net list, is it the same as bill of materials?
It's not quite the same as a bill of materials, okay? Netlist is all the wires in the schematic, okay? There's also a BOM generator, bill of materials generator, and there's a variety of other different generators that we go into later on. Gerber generators, if you're going to do a pick and place machine, there's something, a position file generator. There's all sorts of things that get generated from this. But netlist is the wires, bill of materials is the list of components, and there is a BOM button that you can hit that will generate the BOM.
Because in my version of KiCad, I don't know if I have the same version as you do, but I have something in the upper right, looks like a little picture of a page with the type on it. So generate bill of materials into a cross reference. The second one from the right, which is about
that's your BOM generator. Do we have it? No, I took it all down.
When you talk about a beetle or ladybug up there with a
that's design rule checker.
I have something with a check mark, but it's not a beetle.
It's a ladybug.
Perform electric rules check.
Yeah, that's the
same thing.
That's the same. That's your design rule checker.
I have a newer or an older version.
Yeah, the KiCad uses something called rolling release model. They have these things called stable, but the people who develop don't really believe in the stable release. They don't do it. So it's rolling release. So you sometimes will get a new version and it'll have a bug. My version had a bug with the relative label, relative path name generation. So that's most of us are going to have slightly different versions of KiCad. We're just going to have to deal with it. The people are very serious about trying not to break things, but sometimes some stuff slips through. Okay. Yeah.
The electrical check thing, it just does input to output kind of thing?
Yeah, it's one of these things. I'm probably going to come back to the electrical check later on, but most of us are wanting. We're going to have this dead gap in the class where we're waiting for our boards to come back. That'll be about 2 weeks. That'll be about 2 lectures worth. So that's when I want to come back and hit the design rule checking and some of the other stuff, so that as we're waiting for boards to show up. But I wanted to get us to making a board as fast as possible. So we've basically done 1.5 lectures on the schematic capture, half a lecture on schematic footprints, and then we're going to probably spend about 2 more lectures on initial laying out your board stuff. And then we want to, we've got to get as many people who want to do stuff so that we can coalesce those all together and ship them off to be fabricated.
Where do you send them to? Seeds?
We're probably going to go with Seed Studio. It's cheap. If somebody really just has to have it, ASAP, we'll tell you where to get a quick turn, but it costs more to get a quick turn. Okay.
So if an individual wants to send, it's always going to be expensive.
I will claim that it's really just how fast you want them. Seed Studio, you get 10 boards minimum.
Yeah.
Minimum. I mean, they won't make you less than 10. A lot of the quick turn places are 2 boards. And almost nobody does less than 2. There was only one Olamex that only gave me 1. But they had a good price at the time. They're not bad. I mean, they're in Bulgaria. It took a long time for the boards to shoot up.
What's the price range?
For what?
Boards?
It's a 5 centimeter by 5 centimeter, the board, the template that I gave you, that's $10. $13 adding shipping.
For 10. Okay, 10 of them.
10 of them. Yeah, you can't, it's $1.30 a board.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you can't beat it. And then if we collect four class boards together into a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter, that's $25. That takes us down to just a little, about 65 cents a board. It's nothing.
Where is C Studio?
It's in China, Shenzhen.
Oh,
Okay.
I was there.
And if you don't know, Shenzhen is a province right next to Hong Kong. They share a land border. They are all part of China now. I don't know what the restrictions are on crossing the border, but it is
so you send
kind of like the Silicon Valley of electronics manufacturing. Okay.
So you send them an electronic file
And they build it.
Federal Express it back, or?
Usually they use Hong Kong Air. It's just pretty quick. there's something called an e-packet, which I find be a little faster than Hong Kong Air, but figure about 5-6 business days to manufacture, followed by about 5 days, business days to get here. So it's acceptable.
Have you used Spark funds on batch PCB, which is OSH Spark or something?
I've never used batch. Some friends of mine have tried it. They've had some bad boards come back from batch. Most of the Chinese vendors have been really picking up their quality. My very first set of Seed Studio boards were 50% tested, and I accidentally picked up one that wasn't tested and built it. It did have flaws. Now every board is 100% tested. The bar keeps rising. If they had problems with batch PCB in the past, there's a good chance that they wouldn't have those problems now.
And this is just the board, right? They don't place the components. We come here and we
No, that's our job. We get to place them. That's the second part of the class is doing that. We're going to be breaking out soldering irons and tweezers and microscopes. Well, some of us are going to be using the microscopes. You're not going to need a microscope. You'll be able to do it all with your eyes. Lucky you. So, yeah, and that's why we want to get the boards here as quick as we can, so we can go do the actual soldering. Okay, and then we'll go from there.
30 years ago, Shenzhen had 30,000 people living there.
Right.
Today, have 13 million.
Today it's 13 million, high rises, and one of the people whose web blogs I go to is Ian from Dangerous Prototypes, and apparently he just picked up stakes and moved to Shenzhen. He says this is where it's at. I'm spending all my time trying to get parts from Shenzhen into, to Iowa. Why don't I just move to Shenzhen and solve the problem? I think the rumor I've heard is he picked up and moved. So
This is an amazing place.
I've never been there, but I've heard it. They have these like 10 or 12 huge buildings, all full of little stalls selling this kind of component or that kind of component.
12-story high.
12-story high buildings. And
Like
there's not just one of them. There's like a dozen of them. So it's like packed full of little people. People selling things. Either cell phone parts.
It's like
or,
a flea market in the 12th
so
floor.
it's just a flea market gone vertical. It's really. If I ever get a chance to go there, I'm really looking. It's actually a tourist attraction now, and they're getting annoyed because the tourists don't buy anything, so they don't like.
Just look.
They just look, and they're like, no, we're here to sell because we only make money.
You can buy any software for $1 a DVD.
Right, exactly.
That's the price range. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it is. $1 DVD.
Yeah. So I don't approve of that.
And it's done right in public.
Yeah. So, any other questions? Any questions about the homework? Okay. It's really important that we actually get some schematics. Now, if you don't want to do this LED thing and you want to do something else, I'm cool with that. If all you do is you take this template and add a resistor and one LED, that's okay with me too. The cost of the board is near, is essentially, less than 2 trips to McDonald's. So, I don't really care what you do, but the more parts you put on the board, the more opportunities you have to learn how to do surface mount assembly.
How many signal wires do I have? 16?
Um,
Or 8 by 8?
8 by 8, 16 wires, yeah. So,
Can you condense it down to make it into a bus rather than all those wires that usually run
you
around?
absolutely can if you're going to use a shift register. You can put a shift register along the bottom. You put one bit, you clock one bit high, and you just start clocking it down.
No, I don't mean clocking, but I mean the way, I asked earlier about how do you represent all these lines of buses. You said
Oh,
there was this-
yes, there is.
doing that.
Yes, there's a fatter wire bus thing, but you have to label each wire as you connect to it. So I'm not sure you're going to save anything on this particular one because all the components go to different things. But if you have like a address bus and a data bus, yeah, that works reasonably well. It's a lot easier to read in the schematic. Okay. So I'm going to say sayonara to the video. Here we go.